Get out of the way. Beep, 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 beep. These dang mech users, I swear. Now let's crack these rocks and not have to worry about storage. Oh, wrong laser.
I survived being run over. You can survive being abandoned. Don't wait up.
Well, I guess I'll find another ride then. Wait, was that my dad?
Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today on 10 Minutes More or Less Ship Review, right behind me, the GREYCAT ROC-DS. Let's go ahead and take a look. Welcome back to another review. Today, the ROC-DS. Thank you, WinRAR42 and What124 for joining me on today's review of this ground mining machine. Now, this thing has been brought up a lot recently due to the Star Citizen Live with Jared outright saying,
I hate the ROC-DS.
Which is pretty much what most of us think because, well, it came out when the ROC was already there and we're all like, well, why do we need two people to go mining? I mean, we already have the ROC, which you can do it all from the seat of that vehicle. Okay, sure. Let's talk about a few things. We're going to talk about the price and the stats of this thing, and then we'll talk about the tests that me and my team did today just to see if this thing is worth at all having. And I have to say, I'm quite pleasantly surprised, so stick around. With that, this thing is $75 on the Pledge Store, or you can buy it in-game for $141,750 aUEC. And as any ground vehicle, I'd say just get it in game. It's probably going to last you longer and you'd have to spend real money on it unless you get an LTI token some way or how. Now, this thing does have a 4-minute and 25-second claim time or a 1-minute and 23-second expedited claim time, which is not terrible by any means. This thing does not have any weapons on it, but it does have that one manned mining arm on the side with a 1 size 0 Hofstede mining laser with 2 gadget spots. Now, the GREYCAT does come with the ore pod with 3.4 SCU of cargo space compared to the ROC at 1.2 SCU of cargo space. So already this thing has a leg up on the ROC just because it has much greater amount of cargo space. Now let's talk about that mining laser really quick because you're gonna have to ask yourself, well, okay, sure, the cargo's better, but what about the laser itself? I'm gonna tell you the Hofstede has a minus 40% resistance, a plus 30% laser instability, a plus 40% optimal charge size, which the ROC does not have, and a plus 20% optimal charge rate, which means that this thing is already miles better than the ROC in being able to crack these rocks much quicker and safer. And then not even talking about how the Geo is already a death machine. If you get too close to a rock and you accidentally have the wrong power mode, you'll end up killing yourselves 9 times out of 10, unless you're very skilled with operating that machine and understanding what the high and low power on the Geo itself. Now with that, this thing does have the same components between the ROC and the ROC-DS with the 2 size 0 steadfast power plants and the 1 size 0 Froststar SL civilian grade C cooler. And of course it does have it actually has 2 radars, one Surveyor Go industrial grade C and one RADR Z00 fake, which I guess might not be real. Now looking at it, it doesn't have a shield and it also has 60 armor, which okay, great. It has 60 armor with the minus 15% physical damage and plus 30% energy damage. On top of that, it does have have 4,900 HP, which isn't bad by any means because it's just a ground mining vehicle. It's not supposed to have the, a massive amount of HP. Now this thing does move actually considerably very fast, and it does have great climbing ability as long as you're not going straight up a 90-degree angle. Now it does require a little bit bigger of a vehicle to carry. You're not going to put this thing on the back of a Nomad or in the back of a Cutlass. You will have to have a Freelancer Max or bigger to transport this thing. So that is definitely something that the ROC has an advantage of. But if you have a big enough vehicle, this is where I'm going to talk to you about the efficiency of this thing, because in comparison to the Geo and the ROC, I will say as a solo player, the ROC-DS is actually the best machine you could use. Hear me out here. The Geo on low power mode, 16 Aphorite rocks, was able to mine 100 gems in 8 minutes and 14 seconds. Okay, that's low power mode. What about high power mode? The Geo was able to do the same thing, 16 Aphorite rocks, 100 gems total, because that's all the Geo can hold in its storage at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, that's not terrible at all. 5 minutes and 30 seconds, 16 rocks, 100 gems, woohoo. But the ROC-DS, 16 rocks, 144 gems total, Aphorite, 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Sadly, we couldn't test the original ROC because it's bugged out right now, but I will have to say the original ROC doesn't have as good of a mining laser as the ROC-DS, so it'll probably take longer and you still can't hold nearly as much as the ROC-DS. With that, and talking about efficiency of mining as a solo player, the ROC-DS can go ahead and mine a whole group of rocks, get back into your ship, and fly to the next group without ever having to touch the storage, probably a good 30 amount of times. You can go from batch to batch to batch to batch without ever having to worry about touching the storage on your ROC-DS and just load that thing up constantly until you're completely full. With the Geo, you have to get in and out of that thing after every about 15 rocks to go ahead and pull the rocks out. So you are adding time over and over again. Now with the Geo, you actually stand a little bit closer to, so there's a greater risk of dangerously killing yourself, which isn't so much fun. With the ROC-DS, it was as easy as pulling up to a massive batch of rocks, hopping out, getting in the turret, and then just mining all of them over a span of 5 minutes, which is not terrible by any means. You did not have to get back in and out of the turret and the driver's seat at all, not even once, because the ROC-DS's laser actually has a much greater range to it at a maximum distance of 18 meters with a full damage range of 8 meters compared to the ROC at 5 and 15. So with that, it allows you to reach greater distances while mining those rocks. To be honest with you, if I was to go out on a big mining operation and I was already using the ROC or the Geo, I think I would want to see 5 people with 5 of these DSs mining them solo and see how much better or quicker you're able to actually get out there and gather a lot more rocks without the back and forth between storage containers, because the less you're moving physically as your character, the better, right? So just hopping between the turret and the driver's seat and then loading it up and moving to the next spot and doing that over and over again seems a lot more efficient to me. But you'll have to go out there and test that, as I will be doing the same. I'm going to see if I can get a big mining operation to actually use the DS in full capacity without using both seats, of course, because honestly, if you have only 2 people, then using this thing is not the approach. You could easily just do 2 Geos and 2 ROCs and go out there and have a great time, right? But because it's easier to transport, you can easier to transport the ROC or easier just to transport a couple of Geos. And if you have 2 people, it's easier to go out there and mine multiple, sets of rocks at the same time. But if you're solo, you can definitely operate this thing and have a great time. Or if you have 2 people with 2 ships and 2 ROC-DSs, I bet you're going to go out there and you're going to mine quite a bit. This thing actually isn't as terrible as I thought. Now, do I think, oh, well, there is the ROC and there is the Geo, so where would I truly rate this thing? With the power it has on ground mining and everything, it's truly not as bad as I was going to give it a score of. And originally I was going to be like, this thing's terrible. It's 20 points, out of 100. But honestly, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say this thing's a fat 85 out of 100. 85 out of 100 because it actually does a pretty decent job. It does lose that 15 points because let's take a look at the exterior. Taking a look at the exterior really quick, it does not have a gold standard pass, so there's no weapons locker, but you do have access to the back here. You can go ahead and deploy this if you want to detach that bag after you filled at 3.4 SU back here. You can detach that bag and pull another one, put it on there, sure. Or you can go ahead and just access the storage right here from the back, open the door, open the storage, store whatever you want in there, including a massive amount of rocks. And so when you're ready, you just move it on over to your storage. You can go sell them and do what you need to do. It is quite awesome. So I'll go ahead and close that up really quick and just say the 15 main points on this thing is because, yes, if you're operating with 2 people, maybe it might be better to go and get 2 separate machines, but even then, you could probably pull out 2 ROC-DSs and still have a great time. There's a little bit of back and forth between the driver and the turret, but honestly, you're already going to be back and forth between the driver's seat and your cargo box, so you might as well swap that out to just being back and forth between those 2 things and never having to worry about storage altogether. Let me know what you think of the ROC-DS down below. I think initially and for a long time there, I was truly against it. I didn't like it that much at all, but after having a lot of time with it and spending a good amount of time looking at the numbers, this thing is actually quite awesome. That's truly a weird thing I thought I would never say, but in the end, it does perform quite well, and it does sound pretty good too. Let's go ahead and take a look at those sounds really quick before I end this review here. Let's go ahead and turn on those engines. Sounds like a regular ROC until you start driving. It definitely doesn't sound bad by any means. It's a great machine. I think that, of course, if you have 10 people, you can go out there with 10 geos. You can go out there with this. This feels like it has a lot more safety to it. This feels like it's just as easy to use in a lot of situations as the geo and the ROC. And the mining laser is definitely pretty good on this thing, as well as the massive amount of storage behind you. I think I'm going to probably use this a little bit more often. I think I would actually prefer this over the regular ROC. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. And of course, leave a comment down below and let me know, what do you think of the ROC-DS? Have you even given it a shot yet? Give it a real try and let me know. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being awesome. Of course, I'll see you all in the next one. If you're building a new PC, go through longshipindustries.com, a veteran-owned mom-and-pop business that takes pride in every single build. He built my personal rig, which you can actually see featured on the website. The care, warranty, and customer support are top tier. Trust Longship Industries for your next build.